Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Growing Up is Overrated podcast. My name is T, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, Jen. When making friends, we sometimes find that there are better matches than others. Friendships can have expiration dates, and sometimes they're not even a good idea from the beginning. Today, Jen and I will share our stories about some of the flaky and toxic friend experiences we have had in the past. Now, into the podcast. Hey Jen, welcome back again.
Hi, T.
We were intending to release this episode last week. However, technology was not on our side. Yeah, it was not great. So we are trying this again. And we're sorry for the delay, but thank you for your ears, lending us your ears as always.
Yeah, we tried to do it and it just ended up in a little bit of a mess. And when I started to think about editing the mess, it was like, okay, never mind. Let's just start over. Let's try again. So we are gonna start all over from the beginning and talk about our toxic and flaky relationships.
Yeah. I'm definitely glad that we have a fair amount of experience. Well, not glad. That's a weird thing to say. I'm glad we can commiserate together about our frustration with people who have been in our lives who have acted these ways.
Yeah, I'm glad about that too, because there's nothing more frustrating than going through a relationship and realizing that, oh, this wasn't a good idea. Or in the case of flaky people, oh, they don't really care about me.
Yeah.
Which, if like on the same level that I care about them.
Right.
Yeah, and that can be frustrating.
It really can be. Like I think for both of us we really value like a sense of loyalty and a sense of follow through. And so since we share those values, I feel like we have similar viewpoints on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for our definition of what a toxic friend is, this is usually somebody who cares more about themselves than their friends. They might try to tell you that something is your fault when it wasn't, or it was both of your fault, and they'll never take accountability for their actions and the way that it affects you. And sometimes they might even do the friend shopping thing. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but like they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'll hang out with you," but then something better comes along and they'll ditch you for that. So that's a toxic and flaky friend.
Ooh, both.
Double whammy. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add on to that.
I don't have anything particular to add on to the definition. I agree that they tend to care more about themselves than others. The only thing I want to add on is that like people can be toxic people and also not be bad people.
Yeah.
Like, there are friendships that are toxic between two people because the two people just don't work well together. And maybe that person works well with a different person and that other relationship is fine. So like just because somebody's a toxic friend doesn't mean they're a horrible person. And I feel like sometimes in our society with our focus on being perfect and perfect people all the time, that we say like, oh, this person was quote unquote toxic and therefore they're just always awful. And that's not true.
Right.
Even though we are going to be commiserating about some awful friendships today, that doesn't necessarily mean that the person is entirely horrible.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah,
like there are times where I, maybe wasn't the best friend, and can own up to the fact that, I had human downfalls just like the other person might have in a relationship. But in general, I've found navigating friendships to be really challenging It can just be challenging, one, to find somebody who really resonates with me, and then two, somebody who makes me feel like I actually belong with them and I can be my most authentic self, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree, and, like, my particular challenge with friendships is I need somebody who can take my bluntness as not being totally rude.
Yeah.
Like, I need people who understand that when I'm talking to them, I'm talking to them from a place of caring
Right.
and not that I wanna make fun of them or
Right.
point out their flaws, it's that I want to try to help them and be honest with them and share my authentic opinions, and that really rubs people the wrong way
Yeah.
sometimes.
It definitely
So
can. I'm a different version of blunt. Um, but yeah, I've definitely had a lot of people who cannot handle me spitting facts at them.
mhm.
You know, and
And it's not like
although
I'm devoid of feelings, like, I know
right,
not to bring up somebody's weak spot when they're, like, crying and upset,
right.
but, like, when people are like, "I don't understand why this isn't working," it's like, if you then you're like, "Well, maybe it's because you're doing X," like, and they get mad at you
Yeah,
for
you
doing
get
out
into the
X.
logical processes and they're like, I have angry reptilian brain."
Yeah, so that could be a problem, but, like, in terms of toxic relationships that I've had, like, the one that really sticks out to me is the relationship I had with my freshman college roommate, and so this is kind of a long story, so I will explain. So I moved into my first freshman dorm and I had a roommate. And we were good roommates. We were not good friends, but we were good roommates. And I met this other girl who had a space open in her room. And I had met her at orientation actually, a few months earlier. And we clicked then. We liked the same things. We were both into video games and into fan fiction. And we just really worked well together. And her suite mates, because our rooms had a bathroom in between. Her suite mates were also really nice, and I got along with them really well. And so it was like, well, I'll just move into this room since there's an open bed. So I did. And it just wasn't a good idea from the start. You know, like pe- people with mental health issues tend to attract other people with mental health issues. And we both had problems. Hers were more severe than mine. And I'm not gonna say what they were exactly, but it just caused a rift in our relationship, and eventually during our sophomore year, in the middle of it, when we were still roommates, because we chose to live together again, and she just left, like, left school, like, and went home, and
Dang.
yeah, it was January, it was right after we got back from Christmas break, and she just went and left school, and I found out later that she left because of me,
Or
or
she said she
Or
did.
she said she left because of me, like, she put it on Instagram, which I didn't realize she had, like, unfollowed me and blocked me on Instagram until one of my other roommates, 'cause we were living with 4 people, pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Ooh, okay," and then, like, this caused me to have, like, an existential crisis of, like, was I a
Yeah,
horrible person? You know, like, did I do something
but you're
horribly wrong?
not.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that, but yeah, for that 2nd semester of sophomore year, I had, like, a huge identity crisis, and it didn't matter
Yeah.
that a bunch of people were telling me, like, "Oh, you didn't do anything wrong,"
Mm.
like, it was her head, you know, like, and to be fair, we just didn't click, like, we didn't work well together as friends. We didn't communicate well,
Yeah,
um, and
communication.
maybe I did some stuff that made her upset, but, like, if I did, I don't know what those were, 'cause she never told me.
Yeah,
So
that can definitely be the most frustrating part of it, is if both parties were comfortable with expressing, when you do X, it bothers me, it makes me feel X, then you can come to a resolution and potentially become better people, right? So, like, you
mhm,
should constantly be trying to push each other as friends to be better people. Um,
mhm.
but you totally lose that aspect of a friendship when neither party can communicate, you know?
Yeah, it just like the
So,
whole situation really caught me off guard because I thought that we were good friends. And like
right.
when she was leaving, like I helped her pack up her stuff, like
Wow.
I was like I thought that everything was okay, and then all of a sudden she stopped responding to my text messages, and then I see this post on Instagram, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this was not how I thought this was." Like I knew that she was having a rough time, and that's why she was going home, but I didn't
Yeah.
think that rough time was because of me, and or that she blamed me for how she was feeling. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a rough time, and it's one of those things that looking back on it, I'm like, okay, there were some red flags like in our relationship. There were other times that I should have noticed things that I didn't notice. And that's the thing about toxic friendships, and is that you sometimes miss the warning signs until something blows up in your face. So, taking the time to really notice how things make you feel or how the other person feels like is very
Right.
important.
Yeah, situations like that can be really challenging because you don't know what you're getting into. Like, you don't know why they're gone, and you don't know what you can fix, but they can really be always a silver lining with things, and you can eventually turn that into, you know, a door opening for you to find a good friend.
Mhm.
Like, if all of your energy was spent on that toxic friend, you might not have, you know, had your heart open to me or any of the other friends that we have in our group. Like,
Mhm.
so
Exactly. And I
there's
mean,
always a silver lining with that.
the immediate silver lining was that I got my own room for the rest of the year.
Yes.
But but yeah, no, it was definitely more of a silver lining in that I spend my energy, my social energy on other things.
Yeah. Yeah. My story is, I was younger when this happened. So in middle school we had a big friend group of all girls, which scary. I feel like whenever you say friend group, you have to like proceed with caution. Um, like, I mean, we do have a friend group, so there's a caveat, but like in your early years, I think that friend groups can end up being really toxic and cliquey, and that happens as an adult too, but
Mhm.
anon. the there was one girl in this group, and whenever I would say I had a crush on someone, she would start flirting with them and date them.
Mm.
Or she would just tell me really rude and awful things about the way I looked. Um,
Mm.
like, I was really insecure with my body at that time, as most middle schoolers are. But I was heavy. I was pretty heavy, and I was really aware of it because like, my grandma made sure that she knew that she wanted me to be covered up. And my breasts were developing, and so I just wanted to hide everything. And so I was constantly wearing a zipped up all the way to the neck. um what's it called? Like a not
Hoodie.
yeah, I guess you call it hoodie. But it was like a matching velour tracksuit, but just I would just wear the top all the time. And have it zipped all the way up because I just wanted to hide. Um,
Mhm.
and she would mock me for that and like try to unzip my jacket and be like, "Stop trying to hide behind that thing." And like, I'm just like, "No, dude, like this is my comfort. This is my comfort blanket. Like,
Mhm.
leave me alone. Like, I'm not ready for this." She would make fun of my feet. She would make fun of like my weight, what I was eating, how loud I was. And even her mom banned me from their house because apparently I was too loud, which like
Mm.
literally all she had to do was say, "Hey, I'm watching TV. Can you not be so loud?" But she never did. She just told that girl, "You can't have that friend over anymore."
Mm.
So it was definitely like a family thing. They were a little bit elitist. And we went to different high schools after middle school was over. So she went to one that was like supposed to be like the best high school in our district, and it was supposed to like it had all these um AP and advanced courses and stuff.
Mhm.
Um and it was one of those schools that everybody was like, "Oh, I'm going to go to Harvard." um and that was not the school that I went to. Like my school was just very run of the mill high school. Um but I lost like 50 pounds my freshman year.
Whoa.
And that was not I did not do that healthy. That was not a healthy endeavor. But everybody was congratulating me for it, like, "Oh my gosh, you look so great," and I was eating it up, like, "Oh, I know, like, ha ha ha, starving myself, isn't that funny?" Um, and if someone makes jokes about starving themselves, it's not a joke. That's not a joke, like, please,
Mhm.
reach out for help, but, um, she all of a sudden just started, like, commenting on all of my Facebook posts and telling me, "Oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous now." Like, and all of a sudden then because I was, in a slimmer body, I was then valuable enough for her to like talk to me and give me praise,
Ugh.
which
That's
does
not
not
good.
do great things for somebody with an eating disorder.
Mhm.
um so yeah, I just at a certain point I was just like, this is so screwed up. I don't wanna talk to you anymore. Like, I'm done with you. Um,
Good for you.
like, and so I just, stopped talking to her, and she's even tried to, like, be friends with us again or, like, get information about me from our other friends who I am still friends with. But no. Like, the 2 friends who I'm still friends with from that group know that that girl is just, you know, about herself. Um and they
Mhm.
don't tell her anything. So that's nice that at least like they have my back and they know the situation and stuff. But yeah, that was really a turning point for me where I was just like, I don't put up with being disrespected, Miss Girl.
Mhm.
Um and so the silver lining for that was I learned to stand up for myself and um there are times when you should cut somebody out of your life.
Mhm.
And there's other times when you should communicate about it, and if you can't come to an agreement, then you can have a clear answer, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. 'Cause there are, like I feel you bringing up the middle school friend group, like, oh my goodness, flashbacks.
Yeah.
Was yours huge? Like, mine was, like, 20 girls.
Oh my god, no.
Okay.
I had, like, 3 different friend groups. One of them was, like, 4 people plus me. The other one was 7 girls, including me, I think. 7 or 8.
Mhm.
And then the other one was probably about 7 or 8. And I would just when things hit the fan, then I was like, "Alright, I'll talk to you guys later, I'll be with these friends, okay?" And I would just, like, vamoose. So I put my eggs in many baskets so that I always had somewhere to be comfortable.
See, that's a good idea. Mine was 20 is a bit is exaggerating. It was more like 13 or 14. It was a lot. Uh,
20.
it wa yeah, it felt like 20 sometimes. Our lunch table was packed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, just the middle school backstabbing and learning when to drop people, like, very important.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think middle school is too savage for you to not spread out your options.
Yeah, well,
Especially
some people are
when
better at communicating than others.
right. Yeah. No, especially with, like, the dating thing, like, all of a sudden That was not the only girl who was my friend, knew I had a crush on somebody and started dating the person I had a crush on. There was another girl who did that.
Why? That's just so
I don't
random.
know. I don't know why they like both thought that was such a great idea, but they're like, well,
It's
he's into
such a
me,
random
so
idea.
it's like, but you like started talking to them as soon as you knew that I had a crush on them.
Yeah,
But
I
I mean,
never
it's fine.
understood people who I never understood middle school girls who had the confidence to go talk to people who they were interested in. Like, I always admired people from afar.
Yeah, I was not looking to actually have a relationship. I was just in that like phase of, wow, someday I'm gonna find my prince.
Mm.
Um, and uh, like I was boy crazy, but from afar.
Yeah.
And it, I don't know, it was just weird. I don't know. Like middle school dating's so weird. And then like they're like, this is TMI, but like they're making out in the corner and they look disgusting because you're like, who makes out like that? I don't know if you, like literally sucking face.
Okay.
Can't handle that. Anyway, middle school, don't date in middle school.
Yeah,
Just
it's
don't
just a
do it.
bad idea. You're not ready.
I would even argue like in high school, no one was really ready to date, but high school's a little bit more, I don't know. I feel like
High
high
school
school's
is
a
more
time,
acceptable for me,
yeah, high
but
school's more of a time where like I think you kind of shouldn't lock yourself down, but you should like go on dates potentially. I don't know.
I don't know.
I changed my idea about that, but like, um,
I don't know,
you
but
do
like,
you, girl. You do
yeah.
you. um,
Speaking of like high school friendships, though, like flaky people. Okay, so flaky people, they're people who don't prioritize your time, right? They
yeah,
say you're gonna make plans, you never make plans, or if you've made plans, they bail last minute. Like, I don't know about you, but now that I am past my college years, this is when I experience flaky people. Because now I've moved back home to my hometown,
yeah,
and occasionally I'll run into people that I know,
yep.
and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, I haven't seen you since high school. We should catch up." And it's like, no, like you
Let's
don't
go get
actually.
coffee.
Oh, let's go get
Wink,
coffee.
wink.
Ugh, I don't even drink coffee. Like, I hate that "let's go get coffee" is the thing that people say to each other, just on principle, but
I mean, I love coffee, but like usually the time that they want to get coffee is like 3, and if I have coffee, then I will not sleep.
but, like
But even drinks, just drinks in general, or just like going
mhm.
out for dinner, or like it's usually not gonna happen. And it feels like they're just saying it to say something and to make you feel like they are glad that they bumped into you, but like,
Yeah, it's a weird gesture that I feel like in our society, if people say, "Oh, let's go get coffee," or "Let's go get drinks," or "Let's go to the bar," or something, like, people don't really mean, "Let's go to the bar." They mean, "It's nice to see you after all
right.
these years, and you're somebody who I wouldn't mind spending some time with, but, like, I don't really wanna make firm plans to do so."
Yeah. Yeah, like they're not dedicated to having you be back in their lives.
Yeah, because, like, it reminds me of the "How are you?" question that people ask all the time. Like, when people ask, "How are you?" they don't really mean, "How are you?"
Yeah, they're not like, oh my gosh, your dog died and you're this and that," and like they
Yeah,
don't
they
care
don't
about the
really care.
details.
They just want you to say, "Oh, I'm good, how are you?" And then they'll say, "Good" back, and then you move on with the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, if you give an answer other than "good," then people look at you strange. And they're like, that's not the acceptable answer here." It's the same thing with, "Do you wanna go get coffee?" It's just a performance that people put on. It's not actually meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I try to avoid that. If I truly want to go have coffee and like catch up with somebody, I will say, "How does your week look on this day at this time, or
Yeah,
like,
if you
you know,
propose an actual time and they're like, "Oh, yeah, like, let's do it at this time," like,
yeah,
that's different. It's the
yeah,
vibe of that, like, "Oh, we should go do something, but let's not specify when
ambiguous,
or where, and then let's not talk again after this."
right. Yeah, when I realized this was a thing, I started going out of my way to when I rescheduled like, say I got sick or I really, had something that came up. If I really cared about that time, I would say, "I'm sincerely sorry. I can't make this time. Can we do X time?" Like propose a new day and time, because that way they know I really did wanna do this. This just something popped up and life happened, you know? Like, I think it's
Mhm.
just a better courtesy, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But I try to be really conscious about the way that I'm interacting with people so that I can, form strong relationships, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's about, like, how much you wanna put in to this relationship, and I'll admit that sometimes I use the "let's get coffee" to, like, avoid people,
Sure.
because I'm sorry, I'm 23 now, and I'm not really all that interested in rehashing
Yeah.
seventeen-year-old me. Um, like, it's been 6 years, I don't really wanna go back, to that me at the moment, so
Yeah. Yeah, I know, it's interesting because, when I feel like until about 2 years ago, I when I met people when I bumped into people from high school, I would be like, "Oh god, I don't wanna talk to them. I don't wanna they're probably, like, in a way better life, point than I am. Like, they're where they should be for being a 20 whatever year old, and I'm still in this position, and I wish I was further along." But now I meet them and I'm like, "Hey, man, we've changed a lot. That's pretty cool." Like, like, I feel like depending on the person, of course, but, like, for the most part, I feel like most of us, since we're almost at our 10-year anniversary from graduation, I feel like most people who I went to school with are like, "Wow, I'm glad you're doing great." But most of them still don't wanna have coffee with me, 'cause I don't know. I really hate in general just the idea that relationships are disposable in a sense, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm,
like if I'm going to invest time in you, I want that same time back. I want that same energy back.
mhm.
And I recognize that in general, I tend to have I go for friends who are more introverted when I'm more extroverted. So, to a certain extent, I expect to be the one who reaches out more,
Mhm.
but when people never reach out to me, it makes me feel like things are very one-sided.
I totally agree with that. Like, I had a friend, in middle school who I really enjoyed. Like, we had a good time together, and she was really nice. But I realized after a few months in our relationship that I wanted the relationship to be more than what she wanted it to be.
Uh,
Like, I wanted to be, like, BFF best friends,
right.
and she was, like, friends with everybody and just didn't
Uh,
have the time to devote to being my best friend
is
that I
this the
wanted her to devote. Hmm?
is this the girl who said that she has enough love for everybody? Like, she loves everybody the same amount, and you
She
disagreed with that?
No, that was something that somebody else said, but yeah, I do generally disagree with that statement. Make if that makes me a cynic, then I'm sorry, but, like, your love is not infinite, and
Yeah,
you have a set amount of love that you can give, and
because you
when
have a
new
set
people
amount of attention.
Yeah, you have a set amount of attention and time. Like, you
Yeah, I
can
would
like, you can love many, many people, but you cannot give attention and
yeah,
time to a bunch of people. You gotta prioritize. So love is not infinite.
right.
Um, Sorry if that makes you all of our listeners very sad, and I'm kind of pessimistic about this topic, but I really do believe that, and that was the situation with this girl, is that, like, she did not have infinite time and attention to give to me to make the relationship the way that I wanted it to be. So I
Right.
recognized that, okay, this relationship is not going to be as deep as I want.
Yep.
Need to look for it elsewhere.
Yeah, recognizing the reality of the situation. Like, I think a lot of times we can project what we believe the person is like onto them. Like, we have our rose-colored glasses idea of what a person is or who they are, and we'll essentially in our brains be like, "Oh yeah, this person is definitely my best friend who always I could call whenever I want, and they have lots of other friends, but of course they pay more attention to me because I pay more attention to them."
Mhm.
But, when you look at it in reality, maybe that's not the truth. Maybe they will think about you more often than another person, but you're not the, like, top priority person on their list. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it's so frustrating. There are some people who I really love talking to and I get along with very well. I have amazing conversations with them when I can flag them down. But typically I have to catch them at a moment that is really convenient.
Mhm.
So, like, we're playing volleyball and then, "Oh, haha, we're just chatting afterwards. Yuck, yuck, yuck." And then, we end up talking for 2 hours after whatever event we're at, and then they're like, "Oh, wow, the time, gotta go." But then
Mhm.
so they'll sit there and talk with me for 2 hours, but when I try to get them to schedule 2 hours, no, not gonna happen. So there's just certain people where they're flaky, but they're not flaky enough where you're not gonna still get a relationship out of it. You just still have to be more realistic about your expectations on them, you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
'cause
sometimes you can communicate that to them and be like, "Hey, I wish that we could, like, spend more time together." And be really honest about it and see what they say about it, but that's scary.
mhm, and, like, the qualities of a good friendship are healthy communication and, like, people not wanting to change who you are fundamentally as a person. Like,
Yeah,
if you can have conversations with people and explain, "I feel this way. I think that maybe we should do something differently," or "How do you feel about X?" Like, that's what a good relationship is.
right.
And there's a difference between people wanting to change you and people wanting to push you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, totally
Because
agree.
friends should push you. They should challenge you.
Yeah,
You don't want somebody who's just gonna have you be complacent, like, then neither of you grow, and that's not good either. But you don't
right.
want somebody who just fundamentally doesn't like who you are and wants you to be somebody different, like, that's not good
Yeah.
either.
That just made me think about how, there can sometimes be toxic positivity friends. Like, we were talking about toxic positivity in the last episode, but, like,
Mhm,
just the same as there can be people who always wanna change you, there can be people who feed into your idea that you're perfect just the way you are when maybe there are something no human is perfect.
mhm.
Sorry to break it to you, but we all have something even the person who seems like they have their life like, the most perfect as possible, have things that they can improve on. Um, and so I I personally hot take, but I think that having yes men cheerleaders it can be just as toxic as having people who want to change you constantly.
No, I totally agree with that. There's a point where, like, you feel like people are saying, like, "Oh," supporting you when you're not doing things that are good for you. And you're like, "Okay, this would be a good time for you to challenge me and push back and say like, 'Hey,
Yeah,
maybe you shouldn't be doing this, and maybe you should do something else.'" And if they just go, "Oh, you're perfect, self-love, whatever," like, that's not always helpful.
yeah, it's about balance,
Absolutely.
and
S
that's my, life motto. It was my senior quote.
Wait, what was your
Bal
senior quote?
Balance is the key to everything.
Oh, really?
I was like, I'm so smart. Like, I thought it was just like the coolest thing ever. But it's honestly like a really great motto to live by, in my opinion.
See, that's a much better quote than what I picked, so
Yeah.
it's fine. I don't even remember what I picked, but I remember it being kind of dumb.
Yeah, you're 18 and it's funny. Anyway, some people are 17, but anyway.
Yeah. So, I think that wraps up our conversation today about toxic and flaky friends. Yeah. So I think we're gonna transition into silver linings. So T, what is making you happy?
Well, I just booked a vacation.
Woo!
It's a short weekend staycation, kind of like, it's in state, but it's a really nice resort, and I'm excited for some pool time. I got some new swimsuits, so I feel really nice in, and I'm excited to get some pool time in because I'm vaccinated. So
Woo!
That's an important part. I think that was going to be my original silver lining, but yeah, because I'm fully vaccinated, I can go on this vacation, and still gonna have precautions and stuff, but I'm glad that I can start seeing some people's smiling faces and enjoy some summer things again.
Absolutely.
What about you?
Well, mine is also related to summer things. So I live in a beach town in the Northeast, so it's still pretty cold up here, and the water is still really cold. But I went swimming in the ocean for the first time last weekend, and oh my goodness, it was cold, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for summer beach season to be here. This Memorial Day weekend, less inspired, very wet and very raining. Not fun, but summer is just around the corner, and I cannot wait for it to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for listening to this week's episode, everybody. If you want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, we can be found at @guio.pod. We have an announcement to make. GUIO is going to be transitioning to a monthly schedule. New episodes will be released on the first Tuesday of every month. We've just been feeling pretty tired lately, and we think that spreading out episodes will help us with our mental health and energy and help us bring better episodes to you. So please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We hope you'll continue to listen to us, talk about our lives, and hopefully learn something about yourself too. And remember, growing up is overrated.